Morning, guys, or I guess afternoon, everybody, when you're seeing this. But this morning we're headed out to the Kissimmee chain. Haven't been to this spot in a while. It kind of failed me during the Invitational. It really wasn't the spot's fault. It was just weather changed like overnight, had that front roll, and that's the second time we've had something like that happen in a tournament. And the water got all muddy and everything. Now, today's going to be a windy day too. Not as bad as the Invitational. It's definitely not going to be as cold either. But we're actually going to should be on the sheltered side this time. So we're going to go take a look at this. There's a couple things that's at this time of year that you want to kind of keep in mind, especially if you're fishing here in Florida, is right now we're probably at the end of the shad spawn, but depending on the lake, the shad spawn could still be going on. So one of the local lakes that I fish, I'm pretty sure is pretty much done. But, you know, even though the lake that we're going to today is only about 10 miles from my other lake that I fish, it's possible that the shad spawn is still going on. Each lake down here is completely different from one another, even though they're in close vicinity. I know that like at Harris, bass are still on beds, but down here on some of the lakes that I normally fish around home, they're pretty much done spawning. You might find maybe one on a bed, like a super late spawner, but for the most part, they're pretty much done, and they're kind of pushed a little bit more offshore and into post-spawn feeding mode. Now, the other thing that we want to kind of keep in mind is, I know for a fact that they're moving water through the Kissimmee chain, starting at East Lake Toho. The lock is open. It's been open for a while. We got an exorbitant amount of rain last week, so we've got water moving down through the chain. So that should get these fish active, especially from Toho Downs. So we want to go and see if we can maybe find something. I'm expecting to find the fish possibly offshore. I don't think we're going to really take a look at that today because of the wind, but offshore and on the grass line because of the possibility that there's still shad spawn going on if they push bait fish up high. So a little later start than I'd like, but we're going to get out and see if we can't catch something. All right, spot one. Let's see if they're hanging out. Something just moved the reeds up here in the grass. There we go, he's swimming a little. Oh, that's a decent fish, I think. Yeah, that's a good one. Yep, that's a good one. All right, 19 3/4. There she goes. All right, so that's a pretty good way to start out the morning. Let's see if we can't get a few more. of this grass now, and see if they're kind of hanging out here. Oh, something swirled on my swim jig. Let's get positioned over here and try this backside here. Swirled on. Oh, I came off. It's okay, he wasn't very big. That's why. There's still bait and stuff getting pushed around back here. Quite a few little gar hitting the surface. Some bait fish and stuff, so the bass should still be back here. Probably not in the numbers I was hoping they'd be, but they should still be back here. Had two, that one nice one and that one little guy there that got off. So keep kind of working this little stretch here. Seeing some fish moving around. Caught on something there. That's fish. It's gotta be a gar. It's gotta be a gar. Set the hook twice. It's gotta be a gar. Yeah, there's teeth marks all over this. It's a gar. That's one thing about fishing soft plastics, especially here in Florida, is when the gar want to feed, man, they'll grab it, and sometimes they'll absolutely obliterate your bait, and you think you got a good-sized bass on, and go set the hook, and they're gone. And the one thing you can do to figure out if it was a gar or not is, if you have soft plastics, just, check for teeth marks. And my bait is still together, but it's been shredded pretty hard. If you watch my last video, I actually hooked a gar in the side of the face with my swim jig, and prior to that one, I'd snagged one with a chatterbait, because a lot of times they'll just come up and they'll zoom on the bait, but they'll swim around it, and they'll like touch it with their body or their face, and they won't actually hit it. But when they do that, sometimes they actually hit the bait with their body, and it makes you feel like you got a fish. So you set the hook and you set it into them, and first of all, they're difficult enough to kind of deal with without having them in your kayak or boat thrashing around. That's a bunch of needles you don't need. So it's already difficult enough with that going on. But when you got one that's 10 pounds or bigger, then you've got a huge issue. I was luckily able to get both my baits back, and I got scraped a little bit by his teeth when he thrashed, but other than that, pretty painless release. Oh, come on. That might be a gar too. Something followed. You see the wake? Pretty decent wake. grass, maybe? Nope, fish on it. Might have been a gar though. There's definitely fish on it. If I don't grab it, I thought it was grass. Came after it again, probably a gar. Well, they weren't piled in there like I was hoping. A little bit of time left. Maybe we'll make a run to another spot, and then maybe try a little bit offshore, and then call it a day. Alright, trying to find the spot. Never ever marked it off. It's right here somewhere. I think it's up a little bit further. Oh, I got one. Really terrible hook set there. Pretty sure it was, I don't know. I don't know what it was. Maybe foam swim. I don't know if the lake is low because they're moving water through it. Or if this stuff has kind of grown up to, you know, its spring height. A lot of this stuff looks a lot higher than when I was here last time. Wind's picking up. We've got some waves out here. We've got quite a bit of whitecap. I think we're going to push up closer to shore, and then I might just call it. Not what I was hoping to get a few more fish than I did. You know, a couple of bites at one I know is a gar, a couple others I'm maybe not sure of. Could have just been a small fish not really hanging on to it. And then, well, one decent bass, you know, to start it, probably 3.5, 4 pounder. Almost 20 inches long. Well, you can see how the wind out there has gotten kind of brutal. I'm going to try fishing back in here a little bit, amongst the lily pads and stuff, closer to shore. But this wind may cut it short because it just went from like 0 to, I knew it was supposed to be, again, 16 to 25 mile an hour gusts this afternoon, but I didn't think it was going to get here this soon. It was only like 9 o'clock right now. So I'm not going to try to mess around with any offshore stuff and none of that. So the wind is significantly picked up. You can see the clouds just kind of zooming by, and it looks like I've got somebody's braid in my motor. So we're pretty much done. Not the fishing trip I was hoping for. Did catch one good one, so it was a good start. You know, one good one is better than no good ones, or none at all. Well, the trip got cut short. Wind was the initial factor, but you know, I figured maybe I'd get back in some places where wouldn't be too bad. But apparently, I've got somebody's braid, almost like an entire spool's worth, wrapped up in my motor. So that kind of stopped because I'm not going to try to fight the wind without the motor. So I'm going to head back and get that cut out. Wasn't a great day, but it wasn't horrible either. I mean, we started off with a good fish in the first few casts. Had a couple others on, one little guy. But if nothing, I'd rather catch one decent fish than catch a million dinks. And I don't want to sit there and try to cut that stuff out of the ramp. I'm going to kind of get back home, and then I'll get the motor kind of fixed up. It's kind of annoying. If you have to cut your line, try to cut it as close as possible to the hook. I've had instances where I've had to leave like 3 or 4 feet. That's fine. It's not ideal, but you know, when we're talking about murky water and you're hooked in the bottom of a log or something, and you really can't reach down to the hook, or you can't break it off, especially if you're using heavier braid, at least try to get it, you know, as close as you can to the hook. But when we get back, I'll get that cut out. Alright, so here's the mess we're looking at. This is a 30, 40 pound braid, maybe. If we can get it cut out of here. Alright, we got her off. No more down in there. Actually didn't need to take this, I just pulled and it all just came out. Should be good to go. By the way, getting this prop off is such a pain in the butt. All this. Alright, this can go in the garbage now. Don't pollute. Catch you guys in the next one.